Hey guys, how's it going? Let me just check my volume here. We got November 30th, 2017, about 9:57 p.m. And I will make sure my volume is okay. How the hell am I supposed to program something when I can't get my damn volume to stay good? But anyways, it's okay now, so let's see. Sounds like we're okay. Yeah, looks like we're good. All right. So, not going to be going into the sim tonight. You're going to see less and less of Run 8 moving forward. I can tell you that. I'm almost, I can't say absolute certainty. Um, this has been one hell of a week. And there's been times where I've been totally lost. I haven't known what to do. Um, it's been interesting. It's been fun at sometimes. It's been uh, I don't know. It's been really weird to say the least. And I don't want to drag people along to think, to get their expectations high. I don't want to put false promises. I don't want to keep on relaunching what it is. The overlying factor for me is lack of motivation. Now, lack of motivation isn't can be easily I can look in the mirror and say it's me. And perhaps that could be the case. I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to accept that I have flaws. I'm willing to accept that I'm not perfect. I'm willing to accept that I've made mistakes. I'm willing to accept a lot of things that I could easily beat myself up on. But when you feel something in your gut and you feel like, okay, you've done so much, then what have you got in return for it? Then you're like, well, okay, well, maybe, and like I'm probably sounding kind of depressive. I wanna be very optimistic here to give you guys just an idea. Um, if you think I'm gonna go down without a fight, you don't know me. If you think I'm just going to roll over and die, you don't know me. If you don't think I'm going to try, as many times as I get kicked on my ass or fall down and try to redo something and fail, and if you don't think I'm going to get up, swing again, you don't know me. I like to think that the people who subscribe to me know me. And if you don't know me, well, you're going to learn to know me. And if you don't, I don't, you can go do other things. I don't care. If all that makes you excited is give me more trains, give me daylight, you know, let me see a lot of meets, let me see a lot of action, and that's what motivates you. Well, there's a lot of great channels out there where people are having a cool time on TeamSpeak and having an awesome party and doing all kinds of great things and and showing some, I don't know what it is that might motivate you or might inspire you, whatever the case may be. I mean, anybody can, you can stop me right now, you can go do something else. If somebody's doing a live stream, and I may subscribe to a lot of people, if somebody, even the people I subscribe to, if it's something that doesn't really catch my attention, I know it in my heart, I go do something else. I find something else on YouTube. So, like I said, this is actually a moment for me that's very clear. Uh, I can't tell you how clear. it is for me, where what I have to do. And it's scary. It's challenging. I'm setting the bar very high for myself now. Considering the fact that I couldn't even get RTS 2 out. RTS 2 was not a major thing. I could have easily made RTS 2 work. It wasn't a question of difficulty of programming it or, um, you know, whatever mental issues I have with medication that I'm on that bothers me. I've been on the same damn medication since I mean, my medication's been upped. I'll get into more of that in a minute, in a little bit, to explain what the hell that means exactly. But let's just say that the medication that I am on has its side effects, and it really plays around with cognitive and memory abilities. Not so much cognitive, but more memory, focus, trying. And I find as I get older that it really can take its toll on me. But I've had this going on since 8, and I was programming computers when I was in my teens. Now, I wasn't always on the medication. There was a time where I was off the medication for a little while. They tried to do it, I think, between grades, if I recall correctly, between grades 5 and somewhere around high school. So that kind of may have been right around the time where I had a lot more clearer mind and I was able to create and do a lot of things. So perhaps there was a time where I wasn't on medication where I was able to do more things on the computer. I'm not sure, to be honest. But it didn't stop me. Fully under medication, I was able to at least get RTS. It doesn't matter what disabilities you have, and I don't consider myself disabled in the least. We all have weaknesses. So whether or not I do this alone, whether or not I do this with a lot of people, I'm more than open and willing to accept people to come with me on this ride. Because what you're gonna possibly I don't know exactly where it's going to take me yet, because the ultimate goal and the ultimate design of what I do, um, you know, may depend. I mean, I know the direction I'm headed, put it that way. I definitely know the direction I'm headed. And that is, there is a huge freaking gap in the train simulation area right now that isn't being covered. And I'll get to a few things. Um, but let me first start. And I've been on this. This has been on my mind. It has been digging at me, and it's nothing personal. I want to make perfectly clear. This is nothing personal to the guys at Run 8. They got their lives. They got their goals. I don't know what's going on in their lives. I don't know what personally is happening. I don't know what's happening in other countries. I don't know what's happening um, with different titles. Like, I mean, I noticed the Run 8 website changes actually quite a bit more than I realized. Some things don't change at all, but there's a lot of things that do change on there. I mean, you'll see pictures that come and go. I mean, my picture's been on there a couple times, come and gone. No big deal. I mean, it's no secret if you guys don't know. I've been on the beta team twice. No hard feelings, and this isn't about sour grapes or anything like that. I got my money's worth in Run 8 a long, long, long time ago. In version 2, not a problem. Even Waycross, I got my money's worth for Waycross. For what I got out of it and the fun I got, I think I got my money's worth. I didn't get, unfortunately, and it wasn't Waycross that held it back. Unfortunately, the issues currently faced with Run 8 right now is suppressing it. However, it's already been stated. They know the issue. They're going to fix it, and they will. But in the meantime, it's a major It's right in the core of what I want to be able to accomplish and design. So it's left me in a very vulnerable spot because unlike before, remember the one time for those of you that recall, yeah, I was talking about the explosions. Well, explosions, there was an easy fix to it. All you had to do was save the train, and you just kept going, and boom, you'd be fine. Um, so there was an easy, and I got in trouble for showing that walk around on a YouTube video once. That actually cost me one time from being part of the beta team because I'm pretty sure that was that instance. I went out there and I showed a YouTube video on how to get around it or something. I'm pretty sure I was a beta team member at the time. I don't know, but I got in trouble or I got knocked off or they took me off the list or whatever. I'm still on the list, and you know I certainly appreciate the support from Run 8. It's I don't want to be unsupportive, but there comes a point in time where you know you've got to really start thinking for yourself. Just like they have to think for themselves. They got to decide what they have to do. They got to decide what they want to do or how they want to spend their time, how they want to communicate. Just because I don't agree with everything they do or their direction or anything like that, it's nothing personal. It's business. I want to be clear about this. This is not a personal attack on Run 8. This isn't a vendetta or sour grapes or feeling that I got gypped or anything like that. I didn't get gypped. I got my money's worth a long time ago. Like I said, it's a frustration for me because now I got to fill in the gap in my own because I've spent so much time and energy and investment into this. Now I have to look at where is it going next? What am I going to replace it with? Am I going to just play games that I play with my son on a weekend for myself? Am I going to start finding other games? I have no interest in them. My passion still lies with railroads. As much as it's kind of weaned off just because the real world trains are not as inspiring as they used to be, so that you kind of lose your inspiration. There's a lot that I remember that does inspire me, and there's a lot of things that are open. But I want to take you back for a little bit here, and this is first of all before I show you this, and this is going to be on Run 8's website. I'm going to show you what their about us passage is, and I'm going to read that. I'm going to go over this. I'm going to basically give you an idea of where I stand right now. But before I do that, RTS was a concept that started, for those of you that are unaware, it was a concept that started before Run 8. That was something that Dale found me. He knew what my concept was. He knew me from Train Sim. He knew some of the things that I wanted to do. And I was at the position at that point where I was trying to find a way to develop RTS into something. I couldn't find the engine. I had Freight Yard Manager. I even had offers from the guys over at Yard Duty who was developing, and they wanted me. They invited me to come in and program with them because they thought that some of my ideas and some of my concepts would be perfect for Yard Duty. Around the same time, that was when Run 8 came along, or the invitation to check out Run 8 and eventually join the beta team. Because I guess my passion for operations and what I could do was appealing, I guess, to the team, or I don't know. Honestly, I can't remember all the particulars, but eventually I was invited to the beta team, and I had the advantage over a lot of other people to, not only um, test a product that had not been released, but to be able to develop a system. So I had a major head start. Most of all, I kind of knew what was coming. I haven't had really that much, and the thing with the Run 8 guys is they're very careful at what information they put out there. They always have been, and except now they're even more careful, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. Either they're not careful, or they just don't have the information to put out there, or they keep it to themselves, or I don't know. Maybe they're not as interested as they once were. I'm not sure. Perhaps they're losing their motivation. Perhaps they're finding other things. Perhaps they're getting, you know, you can't do things forever, and if you don't have somebody else to take over projects, well, maybe, you know, you got people on different continents, and yeah, you can communicate and all that, but maybe life has changed. I thought one was retired from, or was totally devoted for Run 8, but anyways, I'll get to that in a moment. So here's the Run 8 website, and this is the now, like I said, the pictures have changed. Some of these titles have changed. I mean, these guys have gone back and forth between various titles, even the owners. I see a lot of route designers in here, including the guys with iRail and Michael Stuppelbein as well, with his work over at in the Northeast sector. You got Jason, Jim, or James actually. Wait a minute. Okay, so James, lead artist consultant. I'm trying to. Is it Jim? I don't know. I don't know which Jim it is who with Jason anymore. I apologize for that. That's a new picture. I haven't seen him on there. And I know Jason has a partner. I'm trying to remember which guy it is. But anyways, yeah, the pictures, the names, everything has changed over the years. This changes quite a bit. I am still in the community website as of right now. I haven't burned that bridge apparently yet, so that's good. I don't want to seem like I want to burn that bridge. If I was removed, there would be no hard feelings, because honestly, other than having a Wikia, and there's not really that much I have to offer for Run 8 at this time. So, but I want you to focus on this here for a second, and I'll read this. I just want to go through this. So basically, this hasn't changed. This is about what they were, their history and everything, and they have a huge history, a history that I really didn't know much about, because I never had any of their products, or I never tried any of their products. I was into Maple Leaf Tracks back in Microsoft Train Simulator, and I didn't know too much about them. Most of you know us from our past work on programs such as DreamHack. See, I didn't know any of this. I heard of them, but I didn't know who these guys were. Kuji Entertainment's Railroad, Semi-Railroads, and of course the many excellent routes and add-ons we have developed for Microsoft Train Simulator. I never tried them. I honestly, I stuck to as much of the free stuff as I can. I wasn't into buying add-ons. The only ones that I bought were Maple Leaf Tracks, because they developed some of the Canadian routes, and I got some of the U.S. routes for Maple Leaf Tracks. I liked, they were a Canadian company, so I stuck with them. They did Niagara Corridor, they did Kicking Horse Pass, a few others. So that was my go-to guy for Microsoft Train Simulator add-ons, and I didn't do too much as far as payware add-ons. I stuck with the free stuff, just because there's so much of it out there. So, over the past 17 years, 3D Train stuff, and over the time, I don't know if that number has changed. Maybe it keeps getting updated. Maybe it's on a variable. I don't know. But anyways, expansion software or someone else's platform. Here's the interesting. And over that time, as a developer of expansion software for someone else's platform, we have been at the mercy of other people's decisions. and views of what a train simulator program should actually be, and quite frankly, we have been disappointed more times than not. You've been hearing me lately. Does that sound familiar to you? Like I said, it's nothing personal. It's business. But does that line right there sound very familiar to you? And if you don't think it is, I saw that, and I was looking at this tonight. I was just looking to see because there was somebody on Train Sim was commenting about the dates changing or something like that, or somebody adding dates because they were looking at the forums, and I put a smart ass comment in there, and I said, it's nice that they're changing dates and titles and all that. It would I personally, I'd like to see more information on what's coming up, whether instead of hearing stupid ass rumors from Facebook. I could care less about Facebook and other social media platforms. They're all garbage as far as I'm concerned. I'm still old school. I like websites. I like other things that you can add into websites, like uh, like articles and stuff like that, or not wikias or stuff like, or wikis or anything like that, but blogs, stuff that you can keep up to date. It's easy to add. It's like it's linked in so that you can see a developer's blog, and all you do is just write it. They don't even have to have people be able to comment. Just basically post some information once in a while, and maybe even link to a YouTube video, what they're up to. They don't have to show screens or anything. They're just, but they're very secretive. They're very protective. So back in 2009, after my Microsoft decision, blah, 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 simply call Run 8, as that's pretty much the pace we have been working on this product since we started it. I don't know about that. Maybe that was then, but we're in version 2 now. And I saw pictures of California before version 2 came out. And I know these guys have jobs. I know these guys have other things. I'm curious where LA is. I'm not saying I'm going to buy it, but I'm curious. Either LA is going to be really kick ass and something we don't expect, or I don't know. Beats me. But and then again, I don't know what's going on some of the other forums that they participate in. I don't know. Beautiful thing about developing your own train simulator platform is that you can do whatever you want with it, which is a very good thing, especially if you love railroading like we do. So for us, it's all about the physics and operations. And we think you will love what we have in store for you with Run 8. Also, keep in mind that our group is in this for the long haul, and that our Run 8 train simulator is just going to get better and better over time. I've been on the record for saying that last update was one of the best updates. Now, it wasn't huge. It was actually what I would say, probably from a coding standpoint, it couldn't have taken much. But it made it much more flexible and much more operationally savvy to be able to have the filters in play for being able to route particular commodities and stuff like that. And instead of having all the industry stuff come in from one train and just come through. But in reality, the more I think about it from a programming standpoint and testing and all that other stuff, the hump was still one of the best updates. For me, in a selfish sense, yeah, it was huge because, but these are updates that are happening every 3 months. And I don't know if we have access to the change logs here any longer. I don't think we do. After you install updates, so you go into the help and then you can go to changelog.pdf. Okay, yeah, they don't have them online anymore. Somebody was commenting about that. Um, so we used to have a lot of stuff on here, and I know there was a lot of dates. I mean, I remember the first year they were talking about editors, and you know, they were talking about at the end of the first year that the editors would be available, or some kit or something. I don't know. There was going to be something, and it was just never really happened. And I've heard rumors about it. I've heard a lot of things, and you know, I don't know. I just don't know. And they've kind of, you know, at times all of a sudden they'll surprise you, especially when you don't expect it. So all of a sudden they'll surprise you. Boom, there it is. Here's a new update. I mean, for all I know, there could be an update before Christmas. I don't know. I've heard rumors of that too. Whatever. But press releases, like I said, you had your October 3rd, you know, August. So there's, you know, 2 months there. Okay, so that's the Waycross route. So really that has more to do with a route than anything else. So you had your update on October 3rd. Okay, that ain't going to tell me anything about the updates. I can go into them, but I'm not going to. So there was the update on October 3rd. Now, where was the other one? So there's another route. So we got a route, Wellcar Pack 2, SD40T2, Selkirk. The first version 2 update is here and includes a very cool shadow system. Okay, and that was cool. That was back in February. The second update. Okay, here's the second update. So that was in June. So I mean, as the program, there's less updates required because the program should be more sound. They've worked out a lot of the physics and whatever else they've had. There are a couple of issues, from what I can tell. A lot of these updates just address minor issues, or at least they have, as far as I know. Let's just, you know, since we're on the subject of that, let me just go into, let's just see if I can find it here. I'm just curious what that last update did. I don't want to I don't want to understand. And the reason there's a purpose for me going into here, because I'm going to get to that very shortly. Because I haven't even got to what I am planning to do. So, but I do want to make sure I go through all this stuff. What the hell is it? I think I can program? I can't even find my own damn directories. Let's go recent places. All right. Sounds good. Should be in a documents folder. If not, I can go right into, well, user guides. I don't think that's going to be. Oh, there it is. Okay. We'll work backwards. We'll work from the top down. More filters added, so that's cool. Industry config bug fix. So there was some bug with the industry configuration. Two switch stance targets. Car spawner code tweaked a bit to better accommodate multi-lane directional roads. CSX signaling codes. Fixed a typo. Adjusted Amtrak train spawning function for Florida to more better reflect the concepts used. Where, yeah. Fix an error with the westbound AI system. So there's a lot of stuff here. Train roll volume slider. I guess it's less stuff that really impacted me so much. The train roll volume. Avatar attach points added for Amtrak superliner steps and end doors. Fix cosmetic issues with DS switch icons being stuck gray. Fixed a bug with the train tagger. Fix an audio. Fix a condition that could cause a physics explosion when coupling onto humped cars. on a bull track under just the right circumstances. I'm not too sure if this caused the issue, because I don't recall it being as big of an issue before that, but I could be wrong on that. I don't know exactly what the issue is currently causing. I'd love to see a patch on some of these things, but I guess it's not important enough, so whatever. So that went from June to October. That's 4 months. Exactly. At this rate, you know, you would expect another update maybe in February. Fix a very minor math error regarding arc length of curves in a grade due to such curves being whatever that means. Text messages now show on the dispatch screen. You know, some of these things you're just like, okay, well, I don't know. Code modded a bit so that Windows Defender firewall under this also start mistakenly blocking. They won't cause the license to fail. Okay. We still get a red dot, you will need to go blah blah blah. Version 2 needs a normal read-write access. Yeah, you know, this is basically telling you. Road system modified to allow various road types for routes that use them. Okay. Please note if you are kicking cars or humping a train while in multiplayer session, responsibility to remain in the session until all the cars have stopped. This is because any rolling cars that you hump kick remain under the control of your computer. Kicking humping with a doggy internet connection can cause problems for other folks on the network. Corrected situation that caused red dot of despair. Corrected an errorness. Corrected non-dwarf NORAC signals. Blah blah blah. Fixed condition that would use a triple value of MU locomotives to get stuck. PCS timeout. Then here's your update, February 20th. So I'm not even going to go into what, you know, February 20th. So right there we had a 3-month thing in between. Look at the updates on the first one. It looked like a lot of updates were taken, but you know, as time has moved on, it is kind of weeded out, and I think the focus has been more about more about add-on content than the simulator itself. That's at least the way I see things, and you know, that's just my opinion. So anyways, enough about Run 8. You might be saying, what? I'm like, yeah, enough about Run 8. I'll say this much. I'm still going to be on a session coming on the 10th. You've seen my screen has changed as far as this sucker right here. And this was done on purpose. I kind of looked at it and I said to myself, wait a minute. You know, I said, something's up with that. But that used to say 2, coming soon, blah, blah, blah. But now it says RTS clear to proceed, no restrictions. You see there's nothing referencing Run 8 whatsoever. That doesn't mean I don't have, that I'm not going to support Run 8. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to run Run 8, and it doesn't mean I'm going to not do live streams for Run 8, or even potentially keep continuing in my world. Run 8's still on my computer. I plan on running with Ski, and any session that Ski has, I plan on running with him. I put an invitation out to Ski tonight. Actually, I did that. He might think I was joking. I'm not joking. So here's what's happening, and you can see now it's 10:30, and you can see the positivity that's in my voice, because when I get like this, especially with a weekend coming on, and this is why I wanted to get this out to you guys. And I actually should have a drink because I'm going to be talking quite a bit, but I'll get to the good part in a minute. So bear with me, I'm going to be pissing all night. at this point, but that's okay because it's the weekend. So just gonna fill up on some water. I'll be right. Speaking of pissing, I might have to hold my bladder for a bit. But anyways, at this rate, but yeah, we'll see. But anyways, enough talking about my anatomy. So I was well, I took the picture off. Well, whatever. We'll leave this on for now. Nothing really more to show you in that. I wanted to take you through that history is from where they run 8 only because there's some interesting correlations. There's some interesting reasons as to why I continued to keep doing what I was doing because of the direction of where Run 8 was going. Once we're at this point, now the direction for me is uncertain. I see 3 routes that are continuously expanding. I see a program that's really not expanding in features. I don't see any evidence of broadening, adding people on, or bringing any type of development into the picture. And what I mean by that is I was really optimistic when I heard about Mr. Balls being part of the Run 8 team, or whatever the hell that is, or I don't know if it was a team or whatever he was doing. When I had heard that, so I thought, okay, because we haven't seen any updates really for the external dispatcher in some time. In fact, we're not seeing any updates from can't think of his name. I apologize for that. But anyways, T-Scat all of a sudden just dropped out of nowhere again. It's happened before with him. He had a bunch of posts and then suddenly, boom, he's gone. And I don't know what the situation was with that. Even put it this way, and I'm not making light of anything because everybody has their things. But for me personally, even when I get ticked off, I'll let you guys know I'm being ticked off. I'll let you know when I'm happy. I'll let you know when I'm sad. I'll let you know when I'm frustrated. I'm let you know when I'm excited. For whatever reason, he can't do that. He doesn't have access to do that. He doesn't have access to update. There's been people who have I've seen been asking for an update. I know actually he's helped me in the past too, or tried to help me at least try to understand the external dispatcher so that I could get it. Now I didn't quite get it. However, Ski reached out to him as well. Hadn't heard anything. He also reached out for John as well, and didn't hear anything about that. Because basically we were curious about the external dispatcher. Because since there was no development in it, my first ideas was to develop our own, and I think I've mentioned this before, was to develop our own external dispatcher. And that would lead to something that a lot of people have been requesting, and that is an AI dispatcher. At least assisted AI dispatching. As much as I would love to do that, I don't think I have the support or the potential of any type of information to make it possible. So for me, it's a dead issue right now. And it's unfortunate because I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm much more motivated to do something like that because, quite frankly, um, it will change the way California operates. Because if California can have an assisted external dispatcher, suddenly now these big ass routes suddenly have some potential of having one dispatcher control it. You see what I'm saying? It's really not an issue with the other two routes. It's California. California is too freaking big for one person to run it. And I know some people do it, well, just spawn a few trains in a few areas and blah, 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 blah. I'm all about operations and logistics and all that other things to make the railroad operate like a real railroad, not just spawn trains for eye candy. Even when I was running the other night, I was seeing intermodal trains and I knew they just didn't feel like there was a purpose to them other than creating traffic. And a lot of it, you never know what it was. It was all up to that silly AI generator or whatever. So anyways, I was running the other night, and I'm trying to get off this run 8 because I got more important things to talk about. So I was trying to, I had the fun, and then suddenly, once the session was over, I had this empty feeling. Like, it was fun, but I'm still missing something. And that's when, last night I let a lot of my feelings and frustrations out. That's great. I vented, I kept going on and I kept going on. And this time I didn't delete it because I thought, it's towards the end of a video, let it go. And I put some hints out there. If you haven't seen it, watch towards the end of the video last night. I was in a good mood, everything was fine, and nothing had gone wrong. I did my thing, but the frustration keeps on coming back. There's a lot of frustration, and it's really difficult because I have this passion for trains. I could, I really here's my guilty thing. I was on the train sim forums checking the TSW forums for a reason. And that was because if TSW was going to deliver on what they said they were going to do, they just came out with a GP40 whoopee. I said, yeah, whoopee do. I said, I think I replied that on Facebook. It's like, who cares? They came out with the GP40. What are we going to do? Run it around a yard then that you can't flick switches? Thank God I didn't run it. I didn't do anything. I never spent a cent. That garbage. I mean, and a lot of people did. Well, bunch of eye candy. Whoopee doo. So much potential. And that's the thing. There's been so much potential. You have cross ties. What happened with that? You had Train Sim World. What happened with that? All these things that had potential. That so many people thought, this is going to be the best of what Run 8 can have and the best of the graphics. Well, Run 8's still top dog as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing that can touch it. I don't care if you're Microsoft Train Simulator, if you're Open Rails, if you're Trains, or I don't know what other crap is out there, but believe me, when I say this, I mean, yeah, okay, that's great. They got lots of routes, they got editors, massive users content, huge base of followers. They can't hold a candle to Run 8. Period. But guess what? Run 8 is stagnant right now. They are stagnant. We are now about to be coming into December of 2018. This has been, to me, a year that started off with so much promise for Run 8. And again, this is nothing personal to the guys, but From a user's perspective, I have no allegiance to Run 8. I choose to use and support Run 8, and I still support them. But this is a stagnant year. The most stagnant year I have seen in the history of Run 8. For a year that started off with so much promise and potential. How many people had to fork out money for a new program? A lot of people complain about that. I said, you know, are you nuts? Why not? And I was fine with that. And like I said before, I got my money's worth for that too. I got my money's worth for a lot of things. I'm not complaining about the money I spent. It's not about that. I never got ripped off. Run 8 was awesome. I knew what I was getting myself into. And believe me, I would say for the amount of money I spent, I mean, it's just been great. If they would come out, even if their updates were even more powerful, I would be willing to pay for them versus their add-on content. If they were to be able to upgrade to 2.1 or 2.2 as a paid add-on or something like that, or something like that, I'd pay for it. Wouldn't hesitate. Never mind the root add-ons and all the other stuff. If they come out with a root in a different area, I'd buy it. It had promise, and you know, I like the, you know, I like the area. I wanted to give it a try, see what it's like. I'd support them. I'd do it. Not, you know, wouldn't be a hesitation on my part. I know nothing about Alaska. Alaska has nothing to do with anywhere near me. I know very little about it. If Alaska came out, I'd buy it. Wouldn't hesitate. I don't see why I wouldn't. As far as I know, it's a single track main line. There'd be mountain railroading. Yeah, I'd buy it. And I know damn well it's not a class one. Or well, sorry, it's maybe it is a class one, but I know it's not going to be a massive transcontinental main line. So I know right then and there, suddenly traffic levels would be manageable. And I don't know about industry. I imagine there's, I don't know much. I don't know nothing about it, but I'd probably buy it. Just saying. But I don't know what happened to Alaska. I don't know what happened to a lot of things. So it's 10:44 p.m. and I don't want. I'm rambling on too far about this Run 8. I got to get off this whole Run 8 thing because this isn't about Run 8. This is about what I want to do in the future. If I knew what I knew today, as much as things developed over the past 5 to 6 years, and like I said, how things are stagnant now, if I knew that nobody, Run 8 should have brought out the competition in a lot of things. Unfortunately, Run 8 never got the market share I think it deserved. Because most people who get into train simulators are into eye candy. They're not into operations. They're not into that. So that unfortunately leaves, you know, this whole vacuum. As far as a 3D simulator, I don't know if I can touch that. I don't know what I can touch. I don't know what my capabilities are. I don't know how many people I'm going to be bringing with me. The invitation is out there. I've put the invitation out there to my friend, Ski, Mike Warowski, who I'm going to continue to support whatever he does with Run 8, period. Whatever he does, but I'm at the point right now. I don't know if he's frustrated. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's having fun. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I haven't talked to him if he's frustrated. He hasn't said anything to me. I mean, other than he mentioned a few, got 600 symbols and he's getting duplicates, so I don't know. But anyways, I have invitations for other people who are running, who had some inspiration from what RTS is and our programming things for Run 8. And I think it's great to continue to support Run 8 and do whatever you can to support the guys at Run 8 and be able to continue. But had I known that nobody could touch Run 8, and I honestly thought that somebody would have by now, or at least Run 8 would have to up their game to keep ahead. And I'm not saying about market share, I'm just talking about that niche, that open niche that's been sitting there. Remember that whole thing with Microsoft Train Simulator and that World of Trains? Does anybody remember World of Trains? What a concept. Nobody's done it. Nobody. Why not? Why the hell not? Nobody. And I think it really boils down to that this is a niche within a niche. It can only make so much money. But when I was thinking about doing this before, I was always doing that when I was totally unemployed. The motivation that I have right now, unlike anything in the past, just getting, recognition or just getting something out there for myself. Right now I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt now, and it won't happen to my YouTube channel, at least not yet. My YouTube channel will still be free content. I'm not worried about that. I don't think I want to go that route anyways. But at least not yet. I'd have to have some pretty damn good content before I'd even consider going the advertising route, the ad revenue. But money is my motivation now because I have a job that I like. I like my job. The problem with my job is it just doesn't it doesn't really put me that far ahead as I would like to be. And I'm starting to think about at some point retiring. I'm in my mid 40s right now. I have no retirement fund. I am eating into my nest egg because I'm in deficit spending, despite the fact that I've been working for a year and a half. I have to trim my budget this year. I have to do a lot of things that you name it. There's a lot of realization that came, and maybe this is what stemmed a lot of the frustration and the anger, because I started thinking things in terms of money and time and what am I doing and what's my son doing on a Sunday night watching YouTube for 8 hours. I told him, I said, you could be doing something. But then I look in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, I could be doing something too. So what am I doing with my time? Besides banging my head against a wall because I'm frustrated. So, like I said, this has been a very interesting week. But, like I said before, had I known what I knew 6 years ago, a little at a time I would have developed. As limited as I could, I would have developed. The times when I was unemployed, I could have developed. I didn't have the motivation. I didn't feel it was going to be worth it. I felt that I had to find something that was, or whatever. I have very little of any graphic programming experience. Most of my computer programming experience has to do with business systems. However, I have programmed in machine code, so I knew I could program at different levels. I could learn different languages, stuff like that. This weekend, my son is going to, at the age of 9, he is going to be taught how to program by me. I'm going to start showing him the just basic language that I use to write RTS. I take pride in that because he wants to do it. He's that interested. because I want to get his mind. He's bored at home. Okay, he doesn't watch TV. He's like me. I don't watch TV. I don't have cable. So he watches YouTube. All he watches is Minecraft YouTube videos, or you know, very, I don't know, YouTube videos about stuff, games that you can't. I mean, his laptop is not the greatest. It's a Windows 10 piece of garbage, but I know I can get Just Basic to work on it. So if I don't get the computer, at the very least, I'll start him on my computer this weekend. And I asked him about it. I said, "Do you want to pro?" And he says, "Yeah, he's interested." I says, "Don't do it because don't do it to try to please me. Do it because you want to do it. Are you sure?" Because I kind of, my dad kind of wanted me to program because he thought, I just did it for a hobby, but he thought I should do it for a career. And I kind of took him up on the advice, and I think it was a mistake, because I was really not suited for a career in the IT. It was too much dog eat dog, cutthroat, way too many people in. But like I said, had I known 6 years ago, I could have chipped away. I was going through cleaning up some of the stuff in the house the other night, and I saw some of my design papers. I have lots of designs written on paper of what RTS was supposed to be, what RTS could become, some of my goals, some of my plans, how some of the databases were going to relate, how some of the flowcharts. I had flowcharts set up. I had all kinds of things. I have an AI dispatcher, as I've mentioned before. I have the AI dispatcher designed because I know how to dispatch. All this is just a matter of taking what I do on a regular dispatching session in Run 8 and just applying what I do. And even if it's not 100% perfect, just having assisted AI is better than nothing, as long as it doesn't breach any safety protocols. Where basically gets into a cornfield meet, or something stupid like that. As long as it backs itself up and takes the safest approach. Most AIs are like that, by the way. When you look at video games and AI, most AIs are very pretty much beatable once you become skilled enough, because humans, unlike AI, have the ability to adapt much better and find patterns. And AI and computers are all about repeating patterns. Just like how I know how the random number generators work with Run 8, or at least how they perceive the self, I can tell as a programmer and as a human, I know that the Run 8 AI is flawed, or not the AI, sorry. The Run 8 random number generator has issues that have not been addressed, that have not been talked about. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's saying it. Just me. I keep repeating it. It's like banging my head against a wall. And it's just like it continues, and it keeps happening over and over and over again. And I'm tired of banging my head against that wall. I was able to fix those issues with RTS a long time ago. And like I said before, my motivation now is money. I'm going to continue to work. This isn't about finding a full-time income. Now I'm trying to find a supplemental second stream, and maybe a third and fourth and fifth. I want all kinds of streams coming in. I'm not looking to make $1,000,000. All I'm looking to make is a little bit of money here and there. Just keep the flow coming. As long as I can produce the content, keep the flow coming. It's not about, it's not about trying to get you guys to spend money on me. I want to be able to provide a service. I want to be able to provide another option, another alternative. Now, I do not have the graphics capabilities or knowledge, at least at this point. But my son and I are going to go on that adventure together. I've already put the invitation out to Ski, and I know there's other programmers. I'm certainly willing to share the the benefits if it means producing more content faster. If we can get something out on the market faster, then that means potential for more revenue quicker, which means I'm willing to split those costs. I wouldn't want to have a huge team, because for something like this, I don't think it warrants a huge team. That's, I think, the mistake that some of these bigger companies are. They have these huge teams, and then they sucker people in. Yeah, they got some great graphics and all that, but they sucker a lot of people into the eye candy, and people just keep on eating it up. And it's amazing if they can eat up that because of the eye candy. What can we do for people that are really dedicated? You know, and my focus isn't going to be so much on the physics. I'll tell you that right now. The way my focus is, there's a little catch, and actually this is my son's idea. Like I said, he's 9. He told me, and I might have mentioned this into a YouTube video not too long ago. He told me that what he finds Run 8 boring for him, perhaps perhaps I think it might be the lack of the eye candy, but he tells me that it doesn't have the money with it. It doesn't have the, so he sees the tycoon side of a lot of these games. Like, for example, Transport Fever is an example. And he tells me that if it had that, then, and it had the simulator in with it, then it would be something. You know, at first I thought, well, you really can't have a tycoon and a train simulator together in one, because a tycoon is where you're building the empire, and then the train simulator is where you're representing a current simulation. Often, sometimes there's freelance routes, and there's other things. But I started thinking a little bit more about this actually very recently, and I thought the issue, and it actually comes back to a few of the things that I started thinking about. Now, I'm not saying that this is the direction I'm headed. Where I go and what steps I take, there may be a proof of concept program that comes out. I may put a proof of concept of an AI dispatcher. I may actually just program that. It's not gonna be eye candy or anything. It's just gonna be a proof of concept. I'll show you how an AI dispatcher works. I'll program it. AI is going to be critical. I'm telling you, whatever I do, AI is going to be absolutely 100% critical. It's got to have AI. And the reason why it has to have AI is because it has to fill in for every single person that cannot be part of that system. Period. So now this gets into another concept. You take a program, for those of you who don't know what Transport Fever is. They just came out with another one, and I was waiting to see this, and I watched it, and I said, this has some interesting concepts, but it's Railroad Empire. It's coming out on Steam, I think in January, and I knew it was coming, and I've been watching it very carefully. Well, I shouldn't say I've been watching it very carefully, but I've been, keeping my eye, and there was a 1 hour video that I started digging into about it. And it looks pretty cool and interesting, but again, it looks more towards the entertainment and glamorous side, and it has a little bit of what looks like Railroad Tycoon 2, but it really, it goes into scenarios, and you can develop technologies and a few other things, and it's its concept of connecting cities is all the same. Here's my problem with a lot of those games. They're not one-to-one scale. They try to they basically work in worlds, and this Transport Fever does the same thing. They work in worlds where you can have a pretty big size map, but ultimately it's scaled down. Time is scaled down. Everything is scaled down. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to go this road. I may just go to a pure train simulator as well. I don't even know which way I'm going to go yet. But I'm going to go some way, and it's going to involve trains. It's either going to involve trains or trains as part of a bigger transportation system. So I may go the road of an entire transportation system as well. But I just want to deal with the tycoon side first, because I want to tell you about the things that I've seen that is severely lacking in the tycoons. The tycoons, the maps get so compressed, especially in populated areas like New York City, and when you're up against, you're up against mountains and stuff like that. It really limits what you can do realistically in those games. And then you look at as from an operations standpoint. I've seen some of these where you have to create your own freight lines. Like, I mean, Transport Fever, you have to basically create a freight line that goes with a passenger line, and you can't intermingle them. If you have a high speed passenger line, it has to be separate from another line, because so you end up having like 5 tracks in some of the bigger corridors. And then your city is building around it, and it's such a freaking it frustrates me. It had so much promise, and I loved it at first, and then it just started frustrating me. I got into, I got it. We purchased it a while back, and it was fun for a while. I forget how much we paid. It wasn't that much, but it was fun for a while. But it's been on my virtual shelf here for a while now. I just can't get into it, and it's and the other thing is the amount of oh, what's the word I'm trying to think now? Too much micromanagement required. A lot of these tycoon games require you to go in and build every section of track, every siding, every signal, every little milk and cranny, every business decision, every stock, everything. A real executive or CEO may have goals and cities that he may want to connect to in various ways. It should be up to his team, his employees, to be able to present ideas to him. Maybe to get the final okay, but even to have some make the decisions for you or advise you on what needs to be done. So in other words, if you want to connect from city A to B, you shouldn't have to go in there and suddenly, as CEO of a company, become the surveyor and everything else, and the signal planner and the train manager, and the shop and all the other crazy things that you have to do. It should be able to present to you here are and this is where AI comes in, because the AI has to be able to figure out, okay, here's the most economical route, because in a lot of these games they do have AI competitors. Transport Fever doesn't, but Railroad Tycoon 2 does, for example. And I guess Railroad Empire will have AI as well, competitors that will come in. I like the idea with the competitors. So I have a lot of concepts when it comes to that, and I believe from a, um, I believe that my ideas are ripe for much more potential uh, interest, because the tycoon genre generally gets a little bit more um, volume for sales than the simulation genre of trains do. Tycoon genre tends to bring in a lot more people who are into strategy games. So this is where it gets really interesting, though. Go back to my son's idea. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, when you go back to the Tycoon genre, if I can put it to one scale in a limited area of, say, 1,024 miles by 1,024 miles, which would be enough to represent a pretty good region, to say the least, good network, have portals connecting to outside worlds beyond that, so connections. So in other words, not having all the freaking oil and all the various resources on one map, but actually having imports coming in if there's a port, or actually having connections to other railroads or other portions of a railroad network and partnerships or whatever, having portals, and those portals representing. But basically, I want it to have the AI be able to not only, and this is where I got the idea when I saw Railroad Empire, because industries start popping up on their own. And I thought that's the way it should be. Industries should start popping up on their own, requesting rail service. And then a spur gets put in. Next thing you know, it's shipping, and it has commodities. Some will be a shipper, some will be a consignee. And you see, this is where RTS comes in, because RTS is all about, has always been about car forwarding and traffic flow and logistics, which is the grounds of what I've always wanted to have. So to have the car flows, to have the logistics, to have everything that you would want. So again, this goes back to my son's idea now. Not bad for a 9-year-old when he thinks about it. And at first, I wasn't too sure, but then I started thinking about it, and I said, okay, well, if I'm going to make that part of the genre 1-to-1, then how about I take the simulator, put it in. That way, this is what would happen. You would have, from a construction process, first of all, it's going to be totally not, you could have, and I want everything to be moddable. Everything. I believe in mods. I believe that if you have a modding community, you are going to bring in more people. Microsoft Train Simulator is the perfect example of a massive success story that is still used to this day. Abandonware. Still used to this day. I think it qualifies for abandonware personally, but anyways, still used to this day. When Microsoft gave up on it because it was a formula that worked. The editors were not supported, but people learned to use it, as buggy as they were, with no updates, because they had the ability for others to go in and screw around with it. And what happened? The rest is history. It's still, people are still developing routes. And now you have the offshoot with open rails, but you're still dealing with, like I said the other night, this is the backbone technology. This is an older technology now. We're talking about a lot different memory requirements. I remember running in a yard on some of the computers. It's a 6-track yard, and being bogged down to where my frames totally froze. My computer would freeze trying to switch a yard of about 30 cars with 6 tracks, because it just couldn't handle it. And yet here I was in Waycross the other night, and or last month or whatever, And I was in a yard that was 3/4 full and the frames were barely dropping. Well, they were dropping, but it was reasonable. So you have the genre that goes ahead and you have the tycoon side. Now, just like I believe, Transport Fever allows you to bring in mods of worlds. So you can have real world mods, or you can have developed mods. It also has the ability to generate its own maps, auto generated. So it'll put cities in, and it'll start off at whatever year you want to start off. So you don't have to start at the 1830s. You can start later on, and blah blah blah. Now, I've never seen a train simulator that runs trains back in the 1830s. I always thought that'd be kind of cool. I mean, I don't know the physics and all the other stuff, but then again, guess what? I'm going to create it so it's moddable. I'm not interested in selling content. I'm interested in selling copies of the program. That's how I'm going to make the money. And maybe I'll get eventually into the content and sell a little bit of that and see how it goes, but we'll see if we could get good at it. But my focus is going to be the programming. My focus is going to be the system so that people can create and be part of this. Because I think that's what's lacking right now. Unfortunately, with Run 8, that's their model is not to do that. I think multiplayer, and I've seen this. I've seen where multiplayer works. Subsistence, totally different genre. It's a survival game. They have multiplayer servers, and you can only have up to 5 people, but they have servers that you can run any game and everything. Now it's not moddable, but the point is you can have other people. You don't have to have everything uniform. Things can be whatever. I don't know what point I was getting with subsistence or why I mentioned that. I think the point I was getting at there is it doesn't have to be all so locked down and perfectly whatever to work. If it's kept open ended, moddable, unsupported mods, yeah, maybe give assistance, but keep it unsupported, just like Microsoft Train Simulator did. And I would recommend, as much as I've been a critic of Steam, I would recommend the program. I'm a proponent of Steam. I know a lot of people don't like Steam. I understand. I've been there. Um, I I would like to go through Steam. I would like to be able to develop something and release it early access. Once we had something, or once I have something, or we, or whatever, have something that we can present that's tested enough to where we think we can get a little bit of money and give people an idea of what we're up to, get that in there. And yeah, I don't care that take a cut of take a cut of our income or whatever, or green light, or however the hell that damn thing works. And if it doesn't work, well, fine, we'll do it ourselves. But get it in there, see how it goes, and you start. Like I said, you start with the whole. So many people might think, okay, I haven't really explained how you would get the two genres to mix. The whole, railroad tycoon type genre in with the train simulator genre. Because you have AI running everything, or in theory being capable of running everything. My problem with, other than not being one-to-one, another issue I have a lot of times now, Transport Tycoon does it where you bring cars, but it doesn't allow you to do the switching. I have proof of concepts that I have to do. The first thing I have to do is prove that an AI dispatcher works. Even if it's not 100% as effective or as good as a human, I have to put a proof of concept that an AI dispatcher works. I also have to put a proof of concept that an AI switcher works. That's the next step. If I can achieve those, and I can program the capability of a train being able to switch itself and switch a yard, not just hump, but actually switch a flat yard, and have the ability of an AI dispatcher being able to guide those trains, then time can be sped up as fast as the processing will allow it. That's why you keep it at a limited map. You can't have the map in the size of the world and the world of rails or whatever the heck it is, but reasonably having a 1024 by 1024 mile grid. I'm just using that number as a broad figure, because you not only that in that 1024 by 1024 world grid, not only do you have the one-to-one assets of everything that you need to be in memory, but you also have to keep track of every piece of stock. You have to keep track of every world unit. You have to keep track of all the AI processes that are taking place. There's a lot of AI processing involved, including the AI dispatching, the AI switching. Now, like I said, it can speed up. One thing about the Tycoon games is you can speed up to, once you start building something. Tycoon games, another thing too, is when you build a track or you tear apart a track, a lot of times what happens is it instantly demolishes it or it instantly builds it. There are two resources in life: time and money. You need both of them. So, if you're going to build a line, you don't get the benefits of that line right away. You have to put the plan in place, and then you need the manpower, which is the money, to afford to buy enough people, and how much time you want for that to get done matters on what equipment you have and what manpower you have to build it. The more you spend, the quicker you can get it built. But it doesn't appear overnight. So with the Tycoon side of things, I want to have it so that it slowly develops and you start seeing maybe construction of, like the construction vehicles, and they're laying the track down or something like that, or some animated thing that really means nothing. Maybe, yeah, it's not going to come in the first version or anything like that, but something like that. And this is a big project. I'm really thinking big on this one because nobody's ever done this as far as I know. Because I'm talking about the Tycoon side now. How does that relate to the simulator side? You're probably asking. First of all, I've never seen. I know there's a steam train simulator, but imagine, if you will, you're running your Tycoon world, and you like doing the Tycoon thing, but you also like running the railroad. One thing that the Tycoon games also don't do very well is operate yards and operate dispatching. This is why the proof of concept with AI dispatching is required, because you need a real AI dispatcher to control all those train movements. You shouldn't have to necessarily set up paths, you need to set up waypoints where these trains have to go, how they have to get there. Not paths. Paths should be they should change for various reasons. Number one of your bridges get washed out, it needs to redirect traffic to somewhere else. If you have a breakdown, you may need to redirect traffic to another one of your lines. If you have a derailment, you need to be able to redirect train. So then you have to rely on your network. A lot of variables to consider. Perhaps it can't do that right away, so, but otherwise your whole network comes to a screeching halt. So, again, The AI has to be able to do that. Once the AI can do that, then you can speed up the clock like you would in any other tycoon game. But you can also not you can slow it down or you can pause it. What a lot of these tycoons games do not have as well, as I was saying, is number one, to be able to run it real time with day and night cycles and weather, but also to have yards that actually switch cars. Now I bring in the train simulator portion of this. The railroad itself should be able to function relatively well under AI control. It's not going to be as efficient as a human because, quite frankly, the AI is going to be able to do so much. It's not going to push outside its variable limits. It's going to play it safe, just like I've said all along. The human comes in, and it may not have all the physics either, just like the AI in Run 8, for example. It won't have all the physics and all that other properties. It's just going to move. It's going to be able to do the things. The human will have to play with the physics as well as they're going to have to, they're going to be dealing more with human error a lot better. It'll be much more real as opposed to an AI, which will have some random variance for time and lateness startup factors and stuff like that, kind of like what the TD3 does. So at any point in time, if you want to run your railroad empire, run it. Become the dispatcher, host your world. Maybe you can have a development team as part of your server so that you have your world, but you also have a development team. So people, not only are you the CEO and the owner of the map, but others who have access to you can also continue to build. They may have certain access levels that you give them as far as can they speed up the clock, or are they required to stay at real time as far as their planning ideas, or their if they want to add new routes, or if they want to close down lines or restructure, like double track certain sections, or um, buy new industries or buy stocks and play with a real world stock market from day to day. Because you can decide to run in a certain area and just all of a sudden you just run it real time, and perhaps it runs on its own or it catches up. Like, say for example, if nobody's been on the server for 2 days, including the owner, uh, perhaps the next time it comes on, it catches up. So it runs everything into AI, and then you take over from there, from wherever you're at, or maybe you don't. Maybe it leaves off with the last save, sort of like what we do with, it doesn't have to be real time, it doesn't have to be the actual day. It could be, you could be running in the 70s, you could be running in the 1830s or the 1840s if you want to simulate that for a while. Maybe you'll have more than one server. Maybe you'll have a mode where you're running in this era, or maybe you're running in that era. Um, that way you have two or three different servers going, and one you've developed a lot further along, and you're playing modern sessions. The other you're playing something else. Maybe other people in the community will be running different servers at different times, but there will be the ability for people to participate in a particular era depending upon where you're at. So then you have that. You go in, you run the simulator. It's basically the route that you've built or you've approved to be built. Now, you can start off with mods and stuff like that. If you want to start off by building a world, like in a sandbox mode type thing where you actually go in and actually do the physical route, track for track, mile for mile, and you develop a real world. You not only do you develop the real world, but you're able to modify the map. Now, I would like to see a few things. Number one, I'd like to see the ability to not only have computer generated uh, maps of just random worlds, so that different different make it so that you have to explore different areas to mine and stuff. I mean, you can get into mining, you can get into um, people prospect, all of a sudden they find gold in a certain area or something like that. A lot of this stuff was happening back in the 1830s and whatever. They found deposits. They still find deposits today, oil deposits, and new industries come online, and new pipelines are built, and there's new channels, new imports, new exports. All kinds of things change with the economies. So that could play into your world. And I think it's actually more interesting to develop a world or an entire transportation system from scratch as opposed to trying to represent a real world. And you can go in and you can if you're doing that, you can go in and edit your locomotives, and you can create the font for your engine numbers, and having your logo, and go into a logo editor, and be able to change the what your logo looks like. Instead of having these generic logos, you can just go into a paint program and import a new logo. So there's so many people. I mean, you take a look at the Run 8 community. There's guys who love modding. Look at Microsoft Train Simulator. People who are into the editors, are into creating new content. Can you imagine all the content that would become available, and then people could download certain trains of different eras? And as far as physics go, I mean, leave it open to the people. Let the people decide what physics work and what don't. They can rate it. They can comment on it. As I said, the reason one thing I like about the Steam forums, and I'm not saying Steam's the only way. One thing I like about the Steam forums, and this goes back, and I'll go back to Run 8 for a moment. The Run 8 forums were too personally devoted. I said this the other night. They were too overburdened with trying to protect their image. The Steam forums is different because they're self-policing. So yeah, if you start attacking somebody and start threatening somebody, or being vulgar and stuff like that, you're going to get warnings from, because people are going to get complaints and other that. They're not as heavily moderated. So it's a bit of a wild, wild west, but they are self-policed, and a lot of people will stand up for it. Now, some people don't like that because they have to read through all that crap. Well, guess what? Those type of things, you can ignore certain people, you can ignore certain threads. You don't have to put up with that. If you don't want to read that stuff, ignore it. It's not that hard to get through a forum and get away from all the crap and the whiners, and there's a lot of them out there. I mean, I've seen it. But I still think it's better to at least give people the option to have their say. I go through YouTube comments, I go through Facebook comments, all kinds of different things. I have to go through a lot of stuff to get to it, but every now and then you get into a really interesting conversation with somebody, and the dialogue is there. And I think it's important to have people be part of the community, or feel like they are part of the system, feel like they're part of something. That's missing in Run 8. I'm telling you that right now. Maybe there's a forum that has some close association with the developing crew, or a certain group of guys, or a certain club, or whatever the hell that case may be, or certain Facebook groups. I don't know. But from a general perspective, if you look at the Run 8 Studios website, and yeah, okay, you got the community links, including RTS, but to try and find something that really talks about where the community can really change what happens. Yeah, you can post ideas, and there's a lot. They take in a lot of ideas. Run 8 has taken a lot of ideas from users, including myself. But to have the ability to mod and all that other stuff, I'm not saying Run 8 needs to do that. Run 8 can do whatever they want. I'm saying if I was to do it, and I mean, I have every intention to give it a shot. If I fail, well, hey, I fail. So what? You know what I mean? You only live once. To me, it's worth trying. And I see the challenge that lies ahead. That excites me because there's no excuses. The only person that's going to fail is me. It isn't going to be about the technology. It isn't going to be about something preventing me from getting that. It isn't going to be anything other than my time and my dedication to this. And like I said before, the invitation's out there. If this is something that you want to do, let me know because this is the way I see it is this is something that I want to do. I see potential. I see this I see an open both in the train simulator and the tycoon genres. And personally, I want to merge them both. I want to think big. But like I said, I got to do some proof of concept programming. That will start. The process is going to start with my son this weekend. December is going to be a month for me to really get into the programming. Really get into with my son and see where he's at and see how far he wants to push this thing. Because if he's really into it, instead of us playing video games all winter, we might be doing a lot of coding this winter. And if I can get him into the graphic side and the 3D design and stuff like that, I don't know. I might be opening up a whole new avenue for him. And for me personally, I mean, if I can get his mind, because he's smart, he's bored in school. He's doing great in school. He's just bored. So I want to give him a challenge. And, not just give him video games on the weekend and, be his best friend and all that. I want to be able to challenge him and give him something fun to try. This is what he says he'd be interested in doing. So I'm like, okay, well, what we're gonna start, and just so you know, we're gonna start very small. My son and I. He's never programmed. He's a 9-year old. Okay, he's smart, but he ain't that smart. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start, and he's also a junior orange belt in karate. So, hey, he knows a move or two. Um, he's headed there. He's gonna be orange belt in no time. Give it a couple months. I think he's about a couple months away from orange belt. Yeah, he's a couple stripes away. Should be able to get it, no problem. He'll be up to orange belt, and after that it'll be red, and then it'll be purple, blah blah blah. Eventually, and then brown and black. He'll be well into his teens by then, before he gets it. But no, this is another intellectual challenge for him. We're gonna start with Battleship. I talked to him tonight. I said, well, actually, he says he makes up card games on his own, and I says, well, yeah, you can do that with a computer too. And the difference is the computer will be able to play against you. He says I told him, I said that's the power of the computer. The computer can act as that AI person who can with parameters and some random variants can can play against you. So, he was talking about Big Bertha. He's like, yeah, you can do that. I mean, there's card games out there, but you can program anything you want. He likes creating his own games, like making his own versions of games and certain rules. I says, yeah, you can do that. You can do that too. I says, if you want, we can try that this weekend. I was thinking of trying Battleship program. I mean, I know there's electronic Battleship, and I'm sure there's a game out there for Battleship. It's not the point that the games already exist. I just want to get him into the programming and show him how easy it is to get started. Because believe me, it is not that hard to program. For me, I go on to bigger things, and it's either I'm motivated or I'm not. I was losing my motivation a long time ago with Run 8 for obvious reasons. And just to close off, and I'm going to end this because it's 11:38. I've been going on for a while now. The thing about Run 8, as far as with my motivation, just trying to get my train of thought here because yeah, it's probably getting late, so that's starting to lose my train of thought. But like the motivation with Run 8 in the latter parts, it's been a lot more difficult for me to get motivated into it, just because. I mean, I don't know what I was saying, but anyways, somewhere somewhere in there, the motivate. I had a good point, and then I kind of lost it out there somewhere. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyways, um, yeah, it's it's just one of those things. It's been. I mean, for okay, I know what I was saying. I said before I was motivated by money. That's one thing that's motivating me. Where I lost my motivation, and this is what I was going to say, version 2 changed RTS to the point where I wasn't too sure what was going to happen when version 2 and AI came out. Because what RTS is all about spawning trains. Well, what ended up happening is it was very difficult as more and more people, was able to run their own servers and sessions and whatever, more people split off and did their own things because they could. And they didn't need as many people like they used to. Whereas before you needed people. Now people wasn't required as much. So what happened is you had all the segregation that's been taking place. The people would be, they it was just suddenly the motivation for me personally was okay. I saw the continued development of what they had established, the great things they had with the AI and the industry. Their industry system is pretty damn good. It's not as good as what RTS had as far as how they handled industries, but it's pretty good. It's a pretty good concept. And the improvements that they made in patch 3 actually was able to improve it even more. The issue still lies, though, is that the scheduling system has not, the scheduling system's been, I don't know what happened to that scheduling system they had, and it was supposed to be Mo-Beta and all this other crap. It just didn't happen. It hasn't happened yet. I don't know when it's supposed to happen because we don't know. So for me, doing RTS 2, and I changed my little thing. I did say RTS 2 coming soon was my little wallpaper thingy me jiggy for you'll see on this YouTube. But I changed my whole formula, or my whole approach to this isn't about RTS 2 anymore. This is about RTS, the concept that I originally had and the direction I want to take it. I don't even know if it's going to be called RTS, to be quite honest. I probably will be. I'll call it RTS something. I don't know what. But, or I'll come up with a different name or a different something. But, anyways, I don't know. RTS was always a beta, anyways. So it never really was a full version. So for me, it's not a big deal. I can take RTS to a whole different level. And before some people say, well, why don't you get donations and why don't you do this and that because you put in a lot of effort with art back in the day with RTS one. And I said yeah. I says, but it wasn't worth me setting up for donations or asking for it. And it's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. And but now I see possible streams of revenue, and I also see that there's that open niche there. There's there's stuff that's lacking in the tycoon world. There's a lot of potential there. There's a lot lacking in the running of the train. And I saw it in Transport Fever. Transport Fever, it was really cool to be able to go inside the train and ride it as you're running through your empire and coming into the scenes and all that stuff. And I said, man, if this was only 1-to-1 scale, and if this only operated like a real railroad and it had yards and it had everything else and all that infrastructure would come in and build. And that's the thing with these worlds, the cities are going to develop on their own. It's not going to be about somebody going in and placing scenery, although you can place objects or whatever, or you can create, mountains and stuff like that. The assets or the worlds or the buildings and all that other stuff that come into play, those are and the cars and maybe the trucks and the boats and ships and planes and whatever else is in the world, to make it feel like a world. All those assets that come into play are going to not be placed, but they are going to be generated by the AI system of development. So as a city develops, more roads are going to be built, more houses are going to be built, more people, more demand, more products, more industries. You get the picture. Everything starts developing. But when you're playing real world level, it's all about the profits, the losses, the on time performance, all those factors that come into whether or not an industry is happy with your service. Then you get to do it, and you get to do it at a real at a you get to take a certain section of your railroad and run it in real time, and then you get to see what maybe it'd be better to run a certain train, uh, or a different local, or be more efficient that way. So you can run it as a simulator, but you can also adapt your whole structure as a corporation, as a railroad, and be able to adapt changes to your train schedules, just like you would, just like I do when I was in Run 8 and I wanted to change procedures or schedules or what trains and what hump tracks and stuff like that. It goes the same way, except now you're on, not only are you on that low 1-to-1 level, but you're into a whole system level. And the system level will determine the industries and where the cars are going to go and what needs to be switched and perhaps what needs to be humped and all that other stuff. All that stuff is going to come into play based on real world demand through the tycoon side of things. So thanks to my son for thinking about that idea, because he kind of stemmed something that really got me thinking. And I told him that tonight. I said, that idea you had, I says, your dad just might program that, and maybe you'll help me. And he was pretty excited about that. I says, you realize how huge that's going to be. I says, it's going to be bigger than anything that's out there. Might not have the best graphics, might not have the best physics, might not have the best this, that, whatever. Hey, um, freight yard manager, uh, is a 2D concept. You have another one. Was it Freight Yard Manager is a 2D? So is Yard Duty. Those are all 2Ds, and people run those 2D things. If I can ever get into a 3D concept and it winds up only being a 2D world, as long as I can do it, I'll give it my damnest. And hey, if I can do it, and even if it's in a 2D world, worst case scenario, if it's a 2D world, I'll at least make it fun and enjoyable, because I'll tell you, I had a lot of fun running Freight Yard Man 6 years ago, back when I was running it. There was a time where I said Freight Yard Manager was the best railroad simulator on the planet, because they were. Unfortunately, I guess they still are the best railroad simulator on the planet, but Run 8 is by far the best train simulator on the planet. I want to get back to I want to have the best railroad simulator and train simulator in one. Actually, I wanted this 6 years ago, but the author of Freight Yard Manager, I wanted nothing to do with train simulator. But I believe in merging a lot of these things. I believe in bringing people together. I believe in big things, thinking big. The problem is I've been trapped in this little bubble called Run 8. Nothing against the guys at Run 8. It's their bubble. But it's really not expanding. You got 3 big routes, and yeah, okay, great. The routes are getting bigger. More content, more cars, more this, more that, blah, 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 blah. It should be exponentially expanding, because the community should be able to help. And right now, the community is still locked out of it, other than ideas. They need more people to do that. And perhaps if they ever get to that point, maybe I'll just give in. And but you know something? I can still play. Who's to say I can't run 8 and have my own simulators? I mean, we run a lot of different programs, my son and I. We do subsistence. We're not really into the train simulators that much. He does like Transport Fever still. We haven't done that in a while. We were even looking at what the hell? See, there's Transport Fever right there. We were looking at something else the other day, or tonight, or something. Oh yeah, there's a new. He likes Creativerse. I can't stand that. Stranded Deep. Yeah, there's a new thing, and there's Railroad Tycoon 2 up there. So I mean, I got a lot of those suckers around. So, anyways, that's it. It's 11:50. It's way past my bedtime. So thanks for sticking with me. Feel free to like, or thumbs down, whatever you feel like doing. Subscribe. Give me your comments. Give me your feedbacks. Come over to my Wikia. Post a little bit more. Let me know. Send me emails. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I lost my marbles. Let me know if you think I'm in way over my head. I don't care. I'm ready for it. That's the way I see it. I'm ready for it. And when I tell my son I'm going to do something, if I let him down, you know, it don't matter. Yeah, I let you guys down. It's tough enough to swallow that pride. But when I let my son down, no, that ain't happening. So I got big plans. So we're just moving forward. It's just a clear path forward now. So see how it goes. And you know, till then, I'll keep you updated. And if I got some program demos or whatever, I will do live streams on them as well. I'll show you maybe what's happened this weekend. If we get some programs going, I'll show you some of the stuff that my son and I are doing, just to give you an idea how he's progressing and what he's understanding or not understanding. And then I'll start tackling my own programming ideas. I got to get back into the programming. I see this as a potential. Like I said, the motivation for me is another stream of income, just to get myself a little bit of extra money, to make my life just a little more comfortable and enjoy it while I'm at it and have some fun. So, anyways, thanks for joining me, guys. I'll talk to you later and have a good weekend. I will be back on Sunday. And right now, I got a lot of motivation for both this weekend and Sunday because I got a lot of things I want to start doing. So, I'm really, really excited. Looking forward to it. So, hopefully this is a good positive step in the right direction. And like I said, let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see. Give me your ideas. I'll take everything into consideration. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Talk to you later.